over the world. I am especially pleased to be here because I'm a longtime believer in the work that Operation Hope does each and every day, not only in terms of your mission, but also in terms of your effectiveness. I've seen firsthand the difference you all are making when it comes to financial education and financial empowerment. In fact, just last year, just a few short weeks after I had been sworn in as the 11th chairman of the National Credit Union Administration, I attended an event with one of the credit unions there in Parkville, Maryland. They were opening an Operation Hope Inside office at the local credit union where financial well-being coach would be housed to lead workshops and counsel individuals on how to build savings, improve their credit scores, and manage debt wisely. Let me tell you, if we could just figure out a way to package the energy, confidence, and optimism I saw at that event, we'd be well on our way to creating a world truly committed to expanding economic opportunity and shared prosperity throughout our society. I point to that example because, based on what we've experienced in the last 8 months, energy, confidence, and optimism are certainly what we need to confront the challenges we're all facing today. I'm speaking from the United States, where this year alone we've faced the persistent COVID 19 pandemic, a severe economic contraction, and civil unrest in the form of widespread protests against injustice. For our participants around the globe, I know you've all experienced similar challenges as well. When we look at those challenges, we see they are indeed connected by a common thread. They all have served to heighten our awareness of the inequities that continue to plague our societies, even in a time of relative plenty. And those inequities have a disproportionate impact on minority and marginalized communities. Consider, for instance, the COVID 19 pandemic. According to the Center for Disease Control, Black and Hispanic Americans face an increased risk of getting sick and dying from COVID 19. That stems from the CDC, as they note, from a variety of complex, interrelated factors, including healthcare access, discrimination, educational and housing disparities, and economic opportunity. Meanwhile, the National Bureau of Economic Research has detailed how the small business sector was hit especially hard by the events of this year, and minority-owned businesses were especially hard hit. The researchers found that between February and April of 2020, the number of African American owned small businesses fell by 41%, and Hispanic owned businesses fell by 32%. We can indeed hope that many of these businesses may ultimately recover, but those initial numbers are absolutely devastating. Even for those of us who have been working on bringing more attention and investment to overlooked communities, these numbers should be a wake-up call for all of us. They should force us to look very hard at what we're doing and to redouble our efforts toward expanding economic opportunity more widely. That's why, over the last several months, I have been making the case to leaders in the financial services industry that we need to expand economic opportunity and financial inclusion for all Americans, and we should make that indeed our top priority. As someone who has spent his entire career in the financial services industry and now is the head of a financial regulatory agency, I've long focused for underserved communities having access to affordable financial products. That's because I know how transformative it can be when people gain access to quality, affordable financial services and access to capital. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage fresh thinking among my colleagues in the financial services industry about how we can lead the way to fostering greater financial inclusion among minority communities. Making that happen will require a constructive partnership between the financial services industry and community-based, results-oriented organizations like Operation Hope and other counterparts like yours in the not-for-profit sector. We need a comprehensive agenda to address financial inclusion in these communities where it's needed most. The question is, what would and what should that agenda look like? I believe our financial inclusion agenda should be built upon a foundation based upon 5 key pillars. First, we need to invest in financial literacy and capability training. Just last month, the United States Treasury Department published its 2020 U.S. National Strategy for Financial Literacy, which my agency helped to craft. That strategy makes the case for more financial education to help families and workers save and build wealth while avoiding financial traps like predatory lending. Private sector financial partners should take the lead in expanding financial education training in minority communities. However, I've encouraged them to collaborate with community and faith based organizations. Again, Operation Hope is a shining example, but there are many others to make these programs even more widely available. Second, we need to expand access to quality financial services. A 2018 study of unbanked Americans by the FDIC reported that about 8.4 million U.S. households, that's more than 14 million adults, lack a checking or savings account at an insured financial institution. An even larger number, 24.2 million households, have accounts at an insured institution but still sadly rely on alternative financial services like pernicious payday lenders or check cashing services to make ends meet. Minority households are simply more likely to be among the unbanked and thus more likely to be targeted by those pernicious predatory payday lenders. I've urged financial services leaders to make it a priority to create and market financial products and lending opportunities that will help us reach these underserved and vulnerable communities. Third, we need more support for community institutions and institutions that serve marginalized communities. The credit union industry has made great strides in supporting minority depository institutions, which provide much needed financial services in underserved communities. But such approaches shouldn't be limited to credit unions. Financial services providers of all kinds should examine ways to invest in more diverse local communities. Fourth, we need ongoing support for small businesses. As I noted, the pandemic driven economic contraction has been hard on small businesses, especially minority owned and operated enterprises. Financial services providers can help these businesses recover and thrive by providing mentorship, entrepreneurial training, and alternative lending options geared toward helping these small enterprises obtain access to the affordable capital they need now more than ever. Again, this is an area where organizations like Operation Hope and your counterparts can help to make a big difference by counseling entrepreneurs and helping them during the vulnerable early stages of launching a new business enterprise. Fifth, and finally, we need to leverage the promise of financial technology, or fintech as it's known in the financial industry. Fintech shows great promise for improving efficiency and customer service, especially as the pandemic has driven increasing numbers of banking customers into a digital world. These same fintech tools, like mobile banking apps and micro lending solutions, can be used to connect with minority and rural communities and increase access to affordable financial services. These are areas where financial services industry leaders are already doing a lot of work, but I want to encourage them to do even more in continuing these efforts. Each community deserves to have access to reaching its full economic potential, and I believe that fintech tools can be that catalyst. This is just a partial list, and certainly we could generate additional ideas. In fact, I suspect that some additional ideas could come out of the Operation Global Hope Forum that we're experiencing today. Most importantly, we should recognize that there's no silver bullet to combating inequity. Instead, we need a multifaceted, comprehensive agenda that puts financial inclusion for underserved minority communities at its core. Because as I tell everyone who will listen, financial inclusion is indeed and undeniably the civil rights issue of our time. I repeat, financial inclusion is indeed the civil rights issue of our time. As chairman of the National Credit Union Administration, I have directed the agency to support the goals of financial inclusion within our industry, and the overall credit union system. NCUA can report concrete results in this effort. In 2019, NCUA expanded access to safe small dollar loans following our approval of a payday alternative loan 2. NCUA expanded employment opportunities at credit unions for individuals convicted of minor offenses following the approval of our second chance interpretive rule. Also in 2020, NCUA provided support to minority depository institutions with a 2-day MDI forum held at the U.S. Treasury, as well as the fact that we provide loans and grants through our Minority Depository Preservation Program. However, the current momentum demands that NCUA redouble its efforts to ensure all Americans have access to safe, affordable financial products, financial education tools, as well as opportunities for employment in the credit union system. I, ladies and gentlemen, from the Operation Hope Global Forum, would like to make an announcement. I am pleased to today announce my new financial inclusion initiative called Access, advancing communities through credit, education, stability, and support. This initiative will bring together leaders across NCUA to develop policies and programs in support of financial inclusion within the NCUA and the overall credit union system. Access will build on the earlier success I mentioned and expand those opportunities to address the financial services, financial education, and employment needs of underserved and diverse communities. I look forward to working with all of you from Operation Hope in this great effort of catalyzing access and helping ensure that it touches vulnerable, underserved communities. One reason I'm glad we're having this discussion through the Hope Global Forum is because I believe that the most effective leadership for this cause is going to come from the financial sector, working in close partnership with civil society organizations. Government agencies can make a vital contribution in terms of coordinating efforts, helping to set appropriate standards, and directing resources where they can make the most difference and leave the most indelible impact. That's certainly what we've been doing at the National Credit Union Administration, and that's something we will continue to do under my chairmanship. Organizations like Operation Hope, faith-based organizations, and so many others can help us make the greatest impact. You all have the on-the-ground knowledge and community roots we need to make a difference. And most of all, you all have the energy, confidence, and optimism to make these realities come to fruition. I'm reminded of the famous quote from Helen Keller, and I quote, "Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence." End of quote. Let's hold tight to our sense of hope, ladies and gentlemen, our sense of confidence, and our sense of optimism as we confront our shared challenges. I began my remarks by noting how the events of 2020 have heightened our awareness of the inequities that persist in our society. The challenge for all of us as the year 2020 nears its end is to think about how we can go beyond awareness and focus instead on actions. Actions that will leave us on a positive course toward ending those inequities once and for all. Ladies and gentlemen from Operation Hope, I look forward to working with you all in partnership towards this great mission. Thank you for allowing me to